Yesterday, at the meeting with the crew of the nuclear submarine cruiser Arkhangelsk, Putin, in my opinion, made it completely and definitely clear that what so-called negotiation process actually means. Just judge for yourself. He stated yesterday, and of course, these were staged questions from the interested submarine crew members. Questions like, what is happening with the negotiation? What is happening on the battlefield? And so on. The meeting was clearly just a platform for him to voice his position. It was done quite late in the evening, and the audience was Donald Trump, because it was still daytime in the United States, and so it was clear that Trump will see that immediately. So, first and foremost, he said that Russia is persistently and confidently moving toward achieving all the goals declared at the beginning of the Russian invasion. Then he added, I recently said that we are pressing them, but now we have reason to believe we will finish them off. Now, I leave to seasoned criminologists to interpret the difference between pressing and finishing off. But one thing is absolutely clear. None of this has anything to do with the negotiation process. Russia, he says, is gradually yet persistently and confidently advancing towards achieving all the objectives of what they call special military operation. He boasted that the strategic initiative is entirely in Russia's hands along the entire front line, that Russian forces are advancing, liberating one territory after another. He claims that almost the entire Lugansk region is now under Russian occupation, along with significant portion of Donetsk, Kherson, and Zaporizhia Oblast. Once again, the message is clear, the war continues, and no one is considering any ceasefire. And I would like also to say that, do you remember this moment when he was mocking Trump, waiting for a phone call with him during his there was meeting of industrialists and business owners, and after this open event there was some closed event with top oligarchs and top industrialists of Russia, and at this closed event it was leaked that he told these industrialists and oligarchs that they should not expect any ceasefire or any peace. The war will continue, and they should make their plans and lead their business activities accordingly, as thinking that the war is not going to end anytime soon. Okay? So the message was clear, the war continues, and no one is considering any ceasefire. Then he moved on to explain why. Of course, there were the usual obligatory phrase, we are of course in favor of peaceful resolution, but then came the key point, and who exactly should we sign a ceasefire with? Who should we make peace with? And here he launched into his usual rhetorics about the so-called illegitimacy of the Ukrainian government, about the Nazis in power, about how a sinister Azov regiment supposedly controls everything, and how this is the real, Azov regiment is the real Ukrainian government. That's rants of a madman. Of course, it is a complete and total lie. The fairy tales that Putin told the Arkhangelsk crew were actually a message to the entire world. He has no intention of agreeing to any ceasefire, and there will be no cessation of hostilities in the near future. This narrative is now entering serious public discourse. not just some random propaganda throwaway. The key message is Ukraine government is illegitimate, so we don't recognize any agreements they sign. So, I mean, what is the point of any peace talks after that? So, how does Putin see a way forward? Here is a direct quote. In principle, of course, under the auspices of the United Nations, the United States and European countries naturally together with our partners and friends, we could discuss the possibility of introducing temporary governance in Ukraine in order to hold democratic elections to bring to power a capable government that enjoys the trust of the people. Only then could we begin negotiation on a peace agreement. With such a government, we could sign legitimate documents that would be recognized worldwide and would be reliable. And he referenced historical precedents in regions like East Timor, Papua New Guinea, and so on. And you know, this mentioning of these far away and not really mainstream countries with the context of Ukraine is really a mockery. So he's saying that again, this is his notions that Ukraine is a failed state, and but how this failed state is resisting for more than 3 years already, and his second army in the world is still, I mean, they have really big casualties and they are in a stalemate. Yes, they are gaining some tiny pieces of land, but it's just, for every square kilometers they took in, I think in February, they paid around 200 lives, soldiers. 200 soldiers were either killed or wounded to take 1 square kilometer of Ukrainian land. So it is not sustainable. So this is the road to nowhere. So one thing is crystal clear. Putin still believes he can finish off Ukraine. That is, achieve the original objectives of so-called special military operation, demilitarization and denazification, which is in reality means regime change. He envisions bringing a significant part of Ukraine under Russian control and installing a new government. This new government under external management would include Russia's allies, perhaps Belarus, maybe Hungary or Slovakia, who would oversee Ukraine's transition. In other words, there are no plans for an imminent ceasefire. There are no plans to stop the war. This is the reality we must acknowledge. Everything else is just a smokescreen. What remains to be seen is whether Trump will buy into all this talk of willingness to negotiate at face value, or whether he will grow tired of this constant deception. That's a rhetorical question. For those of us who, like any normal person, hope for peace in Ukraine, the unfortunate truth is that it doesn't seem likely in the near future. As for Trump plans, well, we'll see how things unfold. Thank you for watching, and Slava Ukraini!